I hope that these tips can help you out. They are things that I've learned over the years and usually the hard way. I've found that it is better for my sanity and my wallet if I go into it with, ooh, I want to say tutti frutti.
Appalachian sunrise meets my skin. Even with my eyes still closed, I can feel it coming in. Golden, golden, I'll follow only golden, 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 golden things.
So today we're going to be talking about 5 tips and tricks that I use as an autistic person when attending social events like a fiber festival or yarn crawl. Now, I'm going to be using fiber festivals and yarn crawls as the example, but really these tips can be applied to any type of social event. And my goal is to make attending fiber festivals and yarn crawls and these types of events easier for autistic people to attend. A lot of us have special interests in the fiber arts, but don't attend these kind of events because they're typically not, how do I say this? Conducive to our brains. Like, they're not built for us. They're usually loud. Yeah, I mean, there's other things too, but really the main thing is the noise level that bothers me. But anyways, I hope that these tips can help you out. They are things that I've learned over the years and usually the hard way. So I hope these help you out, and I'd really encourage you to attend fiber festivals, yarny events, or any type of social event within your special interests, because it's awesome to be able to connect with people who are just as passionate about your craft as you are. So knitting and crochet can be stems for neurodivergent people. I always feel better when I'm knitting or crocheting. So throughout this video, I'm going to be knitting off and on. I am working on the Getty Tee by Tanis Fiber Arts. Sorry, it's upside down, so I don't have really a good view, but it uses crochet and knit. Here's the granny squares in La Bien Aimé's High Key Purple, and this is La Bien Aimé's Millennial Pink. And I really like this yarn, and the pattern's great. And I've finally gotten to the point where it's just repetitive knitting, so it's now become my like mindless stemming project. I usually like to have at least 2 works in progress going. So now I always strive to have a knit project going and a crochet project going. And then within that, I like to make sure I have at least 1 mindless project and then 1 project that challenges me or where I have to actually think a little bit about it. And sometimes projects that you have to think about at first will eventually reach a point where there's a mindless aspect to it, like the Getty Tee that I've been working on. I've finally reached the point where I'm just going to be knitting in the round continuously. So that is my mindless project that I've got going on right now. So my crochet whip that I'm working on now is it's a pattern by Edie Ekman, and it's the Melbourne shawl. And I'm using some baby alpaca, that's the name of the base, from the Wandering Flock, in the colorway, ooh, I want to say Tutti Frutti. I think so. I'm not sure. But I'm actually going to be using 3 different colors. I don't have the other 2 with me. They're in the other room. But they're like a lilac purple and then like a dark purple with that same shade of, it's almost a variegated, but it's really just a tonal. The overarching theme of these tips and tricks is to plan ahead. That is the most important part of this, is planning ahead. If you plan ahead and go into like a fiber festival or a social event prepared, knowing what to expect, it makes things a lot easier on you when you're at the event and you've just got like sensory overload going, and it helps you to just know what to do if you become overwhelmed and need to like bolt. So the first tip is to scope it out. So first you're going to want to check the event's website and social media pages. You'll want to do this in advance, but also definitely check the website and social media pages the day before the event, because if there's any last minute changes that they've had to implement or cancellations or anything like that, that way you know and you're not blindsided. And doing this is all about decreasing the unexpected. So a few things that you're going to want to do. Try to see if they have a special page that discusses accessibility and people with disabilities. Some events have a special page dedicated to accessible resources. So letting people know ahead of the event, hey, there's parking here, there's special hours, there's special accommodations, is there a quiet room, that kind of a thing. Some events will have that kind of stuff detailed on their resource page. So I would recommend looking for that. Not every event or store company is going to have that, but when they do, it's extremely helpful. So a few of the things that you're going to want to look for in terms of accessibility and accommodations. First, do they have a special shopping hours for people who may need more time or are immunocompromised? And also look for a quiet room, quiet space, like a lot of, they're typically called that. And that's just a room where you can expect the like sensory overload to be dimmed. It should be quiet, lights should be low, nothing overstimulating. So a lot of times these places are called a quiet room, a sensory room, quiet space, that kind of a thing. So look for that type of language. The other things that you want to make sure to check out is you want to see if where the restrooms are, the parking or transportation situation. So that way, if something unexpected pops up, you have another way there or a safe way home. So, for example, if you're going to like the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, Rhinebeck, there is not a lot of parking there for the number of people who go. So you might want to plan ahead and make sure if you have people with you, maybe they can drop you off at the front. Also, and this is quite possibly the most important from this scope it out category, and it's determine with the people that you're going with a meetup place. So like if we get separated, just look for me at this place, designated spot, find it on the map. And then when you actually get to the event, the very first thing that you should do is physically go to that spot. That way everybody knows where it is, you know where it is. And that way, if you start to become overwhelmed or panic, you know of a place already that you can go and have like a safe, quiet space. I mean, it doesn't have to be quiet. It can be like a landmark or something. But for me, I try to make it both quiet and like removed. So find a meetup place ahead of time if you can. If not, the very first thing when you come into that event, physically go or determine a meetup. So the next part of this is all about Google Maps or Apple Maps. So the event venue, look up the address and the different ways to get there. On Google Maps, there's different route options. Make sure that you have a few, contingency plans. It's all about decreasing the unexpected. So if you expect to get stuck in a traffic jam on a certain road, or if traffic's heavy, you have another way of getting there. And then that you already know it, so you're not going to panic as much. So the other important thing about Google Maps is to look at the, when you go into Google Maps, you'll see the event address, but there's also a photo section the 360 view and street views. Those are the two that you want to make sure. So every time I go someplace new, I like to look that place up and I look at the street view. That way it helps orient me and know what to expect, but also helps me find the place if I know what the outside looks like. The other part of the photos is you want to take a look at the food and drinks if they're serving food and drinks. That way you know what to expect in terms of food or drink. If it's a catered event and they haven't, for some reason, sent the menu out, email the event organizer and ask if you can get an idea of menu because you have food sensitivities. If it's an event like that has food trucks or something, check out their websites and social media. A lot of those places are on Instagram. And then check out the food trucks menus. This way, when you've forgotten to eat and your blood sugar crashes hard, you'll have a place in mind to go. And then finally, the last part of scoping it out is to look up blog posts, reviews, YouTube videos, TikTok videos about the place or event that you're going to. So like, for example, if you're attending the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, also known as Rhinebeck, Nitty Natty on YouTube has a lot of videos that show each year that she's been there, and her videos are great because they walk through it, so you get an idea of what it's actually like to be walking through the stalls, the hallways, alleys, and stuff like that. So also a big shout out to Nitty Natty for those videos because they're extremely helpful for people like me. You would be surprised at how many fiber related events have reviews, blog posts, and videos done about them. So it's a great resource to be able to know what to expect when you're scoping it out. So my second tip is pack a bag. And usually I pack my bag. I usually take a backpack if it's allowed. Some places, this is another thing you'll want to check on the website, may require see-through bags or have a limit on the size of bag that they allow in for safety reasons. So I usually pack my one backpack. I pack, first of all, the most important to me is the noise canceling headphones or noise canceling earbuds. Some sort of hearing protection that you can put on if the noises and sounds get to be too loud and overwhelming. Or if you have earplugs, those will work too. You'll also want sunglasses. And this is even if the event's not outside. It may be that you're in an event space where there is extremely strong overhead fluorescent lighting. You can pop those sunglasses on and, just take down the sensory overload a little bit. Also, a few other helpful things, chapstick, tissues, fidget toy, or a project like I'm knitting here, a book, and a battery bank are also helpful. And you definitely want to, if you can, pack a water bottle. You'll also want to make sure to pack a comfort food if you can. So like crackers or a granola bar, something like that. That way, if you become, overwhelmed or your blood sugar crashes or something, you've got something on hand that you're comfortable eating. Also, if you're traveling on public transit, make sure to pack your sunflower lanyard. I'll leave a picture of it here. And this is a great new initiative. I really encourage you to check it out. It's for people with hidden disabilities, and it just helps send a message to the employees of the transit that you may need additional help or extra time. This was a lifesaver when I went through TSA, when I went to VKL Live in January of 2025. You'll also want to make sure to pack sunscreen if you need it. If it's the winter time, I doubt that. But pack some sunscreen and pack a layer. So like a cardigan, or if you already have on a sweater or thick sweatshirt, maybe pack a t-shirt. NeuroStitches is an online community connecting neurodivergent folks through the fiber arts such as knitting and crochet. NeuroStitches is completely free to join and access all the resources within the Discord server. And we operate on a pay what you want model. That way we can remain free and open to everyone. So right now, NeuroStitches relies on individual contributions to keep it operating open and free to everyone. So if you want to support NeuroStitches, please consider buying me a coffee on our Ko-Fi page, or please like, share, and subscribe. And do that anyways, because it's free. So this next tip is something that I've come up with, and I found that it has made a big difference in my life. And this third tip is schedule buffer days to hermit. And what I mean by that, so buffer days are days you block out around the event, so before and after the event, to give yourself time to prepare and decompress. So when planning time off, for example, from work, if you're having to take time off from work to attend VKL, and say you're going Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so you'll want to take off not just Friday, but also Thursday and Monday. That way you have a day at least before and a day after. So how I prep and decompress is I hermit. And when I hermit, what I mean is I wear comfy clothes. Nothing is on the schedule. It's blocked out. Low lights, cozy activities like knitting or crochet, having tea or coffee, candles, my weighted blanket. I love my weighted blanket. That's a whole other video. I could go on and on about my weighted blanket. I absolutely love it. Sleep in, nap, go for a quiet walk outside, or like I go on a drive on the Blue Ridge Parkway here near Asheville. Music that you find relaxing, or comfort shows. So like I love the Pride and Prejudice soundtrack, the Bridgerton soundtrack. You definitely just want your comfort shows and your comfort foods. Things that make you feel good and cozy. So basically the point of hermiting is to basically take all the sensory input and just like take it down a notch. You know, low lights, comfy clothes, a good like temperature environment, walking outside, that sort of a thing. The fourth tip is to do a pattern or project search. So this is very specific to fiber festivals and yarn crawls. So if you're going to an event and you're wanting to purchase yarn or other notions, accessories, that kind of a thing, I've found that it is better for my sanity and my wallet if I go into it with a project or a pattern in mind. That makes shopping a lot easier. And if you go into it with a budget and a pattern or a project in mind, it makes it a lot easier to stick to that instead of just going into the event with like, oh, I'm just gonna buy whatever I think is pretty. I mean, give yourself some grace because you're definitely probably gonna do that anyways, but it really helps keep things manageable. So what I like to do is based on the event. So like a yarn crawl, I wanted to get something from each store to support each store, but buying a full-size hand-dyed skein of yarn or something can really add up, especially depending on the number of stores that you're gonna go to. So what I like to do for something like a yarn crawl is I like to get a mini skein at each shop and then work them into a project. So you could do a blanket like I'm doing for the Western North Carolina yarn crawl. And if you haven't checked out my video yet about that, I highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun and I hope you enjoy it as well. Also be patient with yourself. If you do find out that you're impulse buying a little bit, give yourself some grace and just try to remember your budget and your pattern or project that you have in mind. So my fifth and final tip is to make sure that you have a support person with you, if possible. It's extremely helpful that my husband goes to these events with me, even though he's not a knitter or crocheter. And I'm extremely thankful that he does that. So I asked my neurotypical husband, what advice would he give to a fellow autistic person's support person? He said to be ready for all scenarios. You might be there for 10 hours or 10 seconds, which is true. Sometimes I've been planning to go to an event and we'll get there, and for whatever reason, I might get overwhelmed and need to leave. And so sometimes we don't end up going to the event once we get there if it's just too much and I need to bolt. He also recommended for you to bring a book or something to do while you're waiting. He also said to give us reminders, and by us, I mean me, the autistic and ADHD person, reminders to eat and drink, and just be prepared for us. We may be a little bit on edge or short or just not talkative. Just there's a lot of input coming in from like every direction, and sometimes we just need to be quiet, and that's okay. So just to summarize, first, you want to scope it out. Second, you want to pack a bag. 3, schedule buffer days to hermit. 4, think about a project or find a pattern ahead of time. That way you know what to buy going in. And finally, bring a support person with you if possible. So remember to give yourself some grace. If you get overwhelmed and need to leave, that's okay. It may be too much. There may be things that are unexpected that you didn't account for. In the past, when I've not been able to stay at an event or not even show up even though I planned on it, I've felt very guilty and bad because I wasn't sticking to a plan. But it's okay, that's going to happen. But if at any time you need to leave, do so as long as it's safe and you know you've told someone what's going on. I hope these tips that I've incorporated into my life help you and make going to social events a little bit easier, and that maybe you can attend fiber festivals or yarn crawls now, or just social events that are about your special interest or your hobby. Because it's really rewarding to connect with people who are just as passionate about the craft as you are. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope these tips help you, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Happy stitching.